Let's give it a second. And we are live.
Right.
Well, all right. To anybody watching, no one's in the the live chat yet, but for future, welcome to D&D Dad and Son. We've got with us today Greg Gillespie, of course, who is of Barrowmaze, Dwarrowdeep, Highfell, the Forbidden Caverns of Archaia, and Dragonslayer fame. And also we have with us today Travis Fauber, who is himself a dungeon designer. And I'm actually running right now his module right here, which is the Barrow of the Unbroken King. And it's recently had a successful Kickstarter, hasn't it, Travis?
Yes.
The Full Metal Tilt Kickstarter, and this was like one of the optional modules with it.
Correct.
Well, thank you guys for coming. I sure appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, it's a blast to have
for both of us.
One of the this is going to be good because like one of the things that I really love about Dragonslayer that I find is like excellent with this product is it actually has a dungeon design section in the back, which I think is a huge value add for the product for anybody who's looking to purchase this, which I highly recommend that you do. Among the many treasures that you're going to find in the book is the dungeon generator. Now, the dungeon generator, of course, is designed by Greg Gillespie, who's famous for his mega dungeons, right? So he's kind of the quintessential dungeon guy, and here he's giving you a dungeon guy guide to be able to kind of help you do this. And he's also got a dungeon design contest. Greg, do you want to tell us about your upcoming dungeon design contest?
Sure. So the idea is just to provide some stimulus to creators and draft material and polish it the best you can and submit it. Runs for the month of April. So the last day of April is the deadline for submission. And you can go on the Dragonslayer Facebook group or the OSR Facebook group, and you can take a look at the guidelines. Very simple and straightforward. So there's a 2-page generator, which we'll be working through tonight, and you can have an additional 3rd page of whatever you want, front and back, backstory, or additional information, NPCs, whatever you can't fit on the sheet. And then you submit, and I'll get to the grading, so to speak, in the week or two that follows. And then then it's just an opportunity. I strongly encourage anybody, if you're interested in submitting, to take the feedback you're provided and then revise it and maybe submit to a fanzine like Fight On or wherever you like. And and some people have done that. Travis has made some excellent dungeons in the last 2 years. He's the reigning champ, so someone will have to bring their A game to kind of knock him off the hill. And so I'm always amazed at the creativity of folks in the community. Like some of the stuff that people come up with is just really tremendous and amazing. And that collaboration and sharing is what the D&D community is all about. And at the end of the day, it's all to honor Gary Gygax, the creator.
Awesome. And Travis, so you being the 2-time champion, you've won top prize ever since Greg started this. We got the 3rd one coming up. Are you feeling pretty good about it?
Yeah. There's 2 things that I'm going to attempt that hasn't been done yet. So we'll see how it pans out. But there's no for sure thing. So like I said, we kind of talked in the green room that I start at basics when I do this. So there's no sense in like thinking that you're going to be somewhere just because you've already been somewhere. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Keeping humble. It's anybody's game. It all depends on, what we can churn out. And that's kind of, why I'm doing this show today, to promote Greg's dungeon design contest and to hopefully inspire people to want to make a submission. So today we're going to be kind of going through his dungeon generator, create one, and these guys are going to be, helping a hopeless guy like me try and, give me tips.
But let's be clear. Let's be clear to the audience now that this will not be your submission.
No, yeah, this is not going to be my.
Going to help you with.
Yeah, this is a throwaway dungeon because that's
what's up, Driving Dragons.
Yeah, hey, Driving Dragons. Yeah, this is a throwaway dungeon purely for like tutorial, for anyone who wants to give a submission. I'm going to be starting over. I already have something in mind that I want to do, but it's going to be totally separate from this today. Now, talking about winning and stuff like that, Greg, what did the entrants stand to gain from winning the contest?
Well, the idea is to put forward ideas, hone them as best you can, and then get some feedback. And then you can carry it forward if you want to revise it and try to publish it on your own or contribute to a fanzine, whatever you like. That's the ultimate reward. Also, there's an archive in the Facebook group. So if you're going to run a game and you need kind of a fill-in night or something like that, you can use one of these to fill in the gap and bridge your campaign or whatever. So it's to create resources that can be shared within the community. And at the end of the day, it's just to foster a spirit of collaboration and to encourage the community to create and to come forward with new ideas. I get it as inspired from the things that I read and that people make as I hope they are from mine. So, it's always a collaboration. It's always a back and forth, and it's just really exciting to have an opportunity to do it again this year.
Oh yeah, totally. Now, are there any prizes for winners?
Yeah, there are prizes. So you get to select the book of your choice, and then of course the bragging rights, which Travis is hoarding all to himself.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like my friends say every time. They're just like, I'll post when you start this, and they're just like, they just send this meme of somebody like stirring the pot every single
yeah. Awesome. So this may not be familiar what we're showing to like everybody that might be watching, but in the back of Greg Gillespie's book, there's a dungeon generator. Now, I have on the right-hand side, this basically is what I'll be filling in my info because it's easy to present. But word to the wise pro tip, what Greg really wants you to do is submit it in the format that is shown in the book here, right here on this page, Dungeon Generator worksheet. So you go ahead and you fill in your rooms like that, and this is what you would submit along with that third page of whatever that you want to do.
And there is a form fillable PDF that is on the Dragonslayer Facebook page in case if anybody needs it.
Yeah,
awesome. So I'm gonna when I'm gonna go through the steps here. When we were in the green room, Travis was like, "What's your theme for this dungeon?" I was like,
"What's your gimmick?"
Yeah. Let's talk about that on air. And because I didn't come to the show with a theme in particular for this. So why don't you guys, I'm going to go through the steps in here. Mm-hmm. And why don't you guys, you can talk through, how one would go about picking a good theme. What do you think?
Well, I mean, with a theme, it's just like I was saying, like earlier in the green room, just to kind of like rehash things that I mean, you could randomly pick a theme. There's many different places that you can go. There are other generators or whatnot if you want to do it that way. But usually, I mean, like last year. So last year, Greg had hinted at that he wanted something that was dwarven related, and I was like, okay, cool, I can do this.
Great.
And I already had like an idea in my head because of where I've been playing Dwarrowdeep, that there was like a few little snippets in the King's Gate that had mentioned that there was a lower level, or as the dwarves call it, a deep. So that started my theme, and then that's what I went from there. So I just started like digging up any module that from the TSR days that had to deal with dwarves. Of course, I went through Greg's material through Dwarrowdeep, which is astounding resource for dwarves, and then even like Dragon Magazine modules and stuff. So I just first built that up, went through it, inundated myself with it, and then just kind of like how you're doing right now, I went ahead and started just drawing up the dungeons. And the last two dungeons that I've done, the first one was the Barrow of the Unbroken King, was totally random. I used a random generator. It actually is the random generator out of the 5th edition D&D book, which plays off of the original AD&D one, or the one that's also in Strategic Review. And I used it when I was drawing out the dungeon. Now, the second year, I already knew that I needed to have certain pinpoints to match Greg's dungeon, for the King's Gate. And so that was the only 2 spots that I had to answer the question. Well, 3 spots I had to answer to match everything up. And then from there on out, I just kind of like randomly again determined a lot of things, but also played within the box that I was given to not like go outside of the number of squares. I think it's like 38 by 22, maybe 23. Because I just counted them again just recently. So then just went from there. So my suggestion is anybody who is starting everything out, first come up with a concept, a theme, a gimmick, and then gather some material, from the past, see how those people have done it, and then kind of, get yourself in the mood of like what you want to do. In my case, I throw on some metal music and then I just start, start drawing.
I could have guessed that.
Right. And then from there on out, then I start to see if
6.
The places and everything, if it kind of like, gives me ideas when I'm drawing out the dungeon.
Well, I would encourage people to, you can definitely, you can make a dungeon randomly. You can do it semi-randomly. You can do it themed. But in this example, the idea is to provide a process for the new aspiring DM. So, it's really important that if your experience, the themed approach is, probably the best way to go. But yet, I'm always surprised by the random results. And one of the things that you can do, like a process like this, where we're doing it completely randomly, is you can kind of go through the process and then you can let the randomness speak. And sometimes the randomness will suggest a theme, and that can be like a real fountain for creativity. You can just you can say, well, this monster's over here, and this monster that's quite different is 2 rooms away. Why would that have happened? Like, what are the reasons why that would have taken place? And before you know it, now you're thinking of a little bit of a backstory, and interesting things can develop from that. So, really embrace the randomness is what I would say for something like this. But having said that, once you hit a certain point, you get experience, then you're thinking, well, I want to kind of tweak it maybe to have a goblin theme or an undead theme or whatever it may be. and then you can kind of take it from there. And you know, you can work at it from either end of the spectrum, subject to how experienced you are.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm very experienced. I feel like a novice. First of all, before we continue, does the robot voice on this dice thing, is that driving you guys bonkers, or are you fine with it?
Can't hear it.
Oh, okay.
I've heard it, but
Okay.
it's all right. It's cool.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of thought.
Well,
anyway.
I think the great thing about what you just said is that, you know, as I embark on a new project, I feel exactly the same way.
Really?
And okay.
Okay.
But that therein rests the creativity. You know, the magic that you're looking for is in the undiscovered country, and you need to go and explore that. So, for example, I just, you know, continuing with what Travis said earlier, when I was thinking about Dwarrowdeep, you know, we're very fortunate in that we have this massive set of primary sources from TSR D&D,
Yes.
and whether it's the modules, whether it's the source books, whether it's Dragon Magazine or Dungeon Magazine, there are tons and tons of examples, decades worth of material that you can go back and you can say, well, that kind of suits my taste, but maybe this doesn't as much, or I really liked this out of this supplement, but not much else, or whatever it may be. And then what you can do is you can start riffing off that to say, okay, well, you know, what would, if I was going to make a dwarven kind of homeland, what would it look like, and how would it feel, and what would be some of the themes that are important for something like that? And whether you're making a massive mega dungeon or whether you're doing a small one-off, hopefully you're feeling that inspiration and creativity. And if you're ever, I never like watch the cursor blinking at me on the screen. I normally write from outlines because I'm inspired by something. So
Yes.
it kind of allow it to roll, you know, like a snowball. And before you know it, that snowball is going to get bigger and bigger as it's going down the hill, and inertia will carry you forward. And so, you know, be open to the creative experience. But then, you know, also if you ever, well, I don't know what to do next. Well, maybe that's a good opportunity to go back and read those amazing sources that we have from TSR.
Oh yeah, and like it's not just TSR too. Like the whole corpus of like anything fantasy, you know what I mean? Like a fantasy image, a fantasy book, Tolkien, or anything like that is just fertile ground for inspiration, especially for people that are, you know, very creative.
Yeah, I mean, Tolkien is where it's at. You know, start there. Like for Dwarrowdeep, it's very important to me that the hex crawling would be approximately within the same ballpark, moving from west to east, like the Fellowship did moving through Moria. So, you know, I went back and reread all those chapters, looking for any tidbits or nooks and crannies that might help inform my project and inspire it.
Yeah, awesome. So
I will say too, with the randomness, also use some common sense.
Yeah,
I can totally see that, because if you're gonna let random
I've had some stuff
day,
come up, and I've thought and thought and thought, and I was like, no, I'm wasting time here.
yeah,
or something's over here, and this place is much better, and I'm like, let's flip flop that.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But that's the comfort level, right? You know, so but that's the great part about doing, like, as a historian, you know, you can't move beyond your prime. You can only argue what are in the primary sources. You can't make stuff up. And so that's always important to me. Like, well, you know, we have this great library, all these primary sources. Let's go back. Let's take a look. Let's see what they had to say. And then from there, you can say, okay, well, you know, I think this would be in the wheelhouse or what have you. And if you're not, the internet will let you know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they certainly will.
and even if you're right, the internet will let you know. So
Yes, that's true. But I'm joking. It's tongue in cheek, but at the end of the day, the community that we've created is very welcoming and encouraging. And people have just done some really tremendous stuff. You can go back and you can take a look at what people have done in past years and use that as a bit of a guide if you're unfamiliar. And I just really want to encourage, if there's anybody out there that's listening or comes across this video and says to themselves, well, I haven't made something before and I would really like to try to do that. Yeah, definitely. We'd be very excited to see what you can come up with.
Yeah, I think the more the merrier. I mean, the more people that get into it, like the worse it is for someone like me who's got kind of like novice to moderate skill at this kind of thing. But it's only it only kind of balances onto the moderate end when I throw my art onto it. But yeah, but the more people that get in and actually participate in this, like as a community, the better off we're going to be, because then like Dragonslayer is just going to kind of explode. I just saw that someone posted in Dragonslayer that they have like a module upcoming or something like that. I think Travis, that you had artists.
I want to say the person's name is Thom, and
Tom Wilson.
Yeah, Thom Wilson, and then he had that Singed, and he kind of had it like the
Singed,
the Dragonslayer, like the old arcade game style. But he had Travis Hansen, who is an artist that I've seen his work many a time. Do the cover, and I was looking at it, I was like, I know that art, I know that, and I was like, oh, I know who it is. And then that's why I was asking him if that who the artist is. So yeah, he's already got something coming out, and I believe other people actually had mentioned recently that they've got things coming out. So that's good.
That is good.
Tom does ShowerCon for folks who.
Okay.
Nice.
Super great dude. I haven't been to the convention yet. I was thinking about it last year, but didn't make it. But definitely give them a look if you're in the New England area and you're looking for a convention.
You guys are both going to be at CNYCon this year?
No. I have a wedding I have to attend, and I also just get back from Ireland around that time. So.
Okay.
But I have been given the green light from the boss that. She said that, next year, she was like, have at it, with some conventions. So that is the one that is up on the ticket. So I'm like, all right. I was like, I'm going. So I wanted to go this year, but it just didn't play out. Just did not play out. But that's okay.
Yeah, CNY is a great convention. I was there last year. I'm very, very fortunate to go back and very excited. So if you're in Central New York or in the East or the West, definitely. Come and have some fun.
Yeah, I totally want to go. I just got to work it into the budget and take the time off work is all. My wife says I can go, so that means I should show up there.
If I remember correctly, tomorrow night, Double D is he's got a ticket. I said 2 tickets.
That's good.
A
I'd love
VIP
to meet
ticket.
him.
So if you get it, man. So
yeah, I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, it was great. He was there in the first year, and I watched his. He ran a Dragonslayer game, and so I watched and heckled from the cheap seats. No, just kidding. He's a terrific DM, and of course he has a great channel, and definitely look him up.
Mm-hmm. If I go, I'm definitely going to be running some jousting using Dragonslayer for sure. I know it's been the request everywhere. I go. It's
for sure.
All right, so
now we're kind of into the spot where we need to decide what level of dungeon is this. Like, how difficult is this dungeon?
Do you need to?
Was that? Do you need? Oh, okay.
I said, do you need to?
You have the floor.
You want to jack it up to 7 to 9, or you want to? stay at the kiddie table.
I mean, it's just one of those things where like you could just let it randomly happen. I mean, or I mean, you can, play around with it. I was just going to say that, just like life, there's no guarantee that that's going to be level 1 across the streets.
How about a happy medium, which would be levels 4 to 6? What do you think of that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's do that. And did you guys? So, have you thought about have you pulled like a theme out of the air that maybe you think would be a decent idea for just throwing together a dungeon like this?
Oh, let's at least see the monsters, and then we'll let the theme suggest itself. How's that?
Right.
You're doing a great job here, by the way.
Let's see. We got some comments here. I bought the Dragonslayer hardcover and PDFs. I'm looking forward to playing and running it. As a Kroll fan since the age of 8, the Cyclopeans being included is pretty cool in my book. Oh yeah, it is super cool. I'm so glad that you got the book, man. I feel the excitement for you, and whenever someone buys it, I seriously want to go and buy it again just so I can get the feeling of I just got it, because it's such a good product. It is so cool, and I'm not surprised at all that people are coming out with these modules and stuff, and that want to play it at conventions and things like that, because people see this and it's just got the feel that people remember from the original game.
Thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Don Bluth art was awesome. Oh, any comments about that, Greg?
No, what was running through my mind is that the Cyclopsmen were, of course, there's a Kroll influence. Then the film Alien Nation with James Caan from the late 80s. Yeah. And then a lot of personal experience with there's a little bit of me and a little bit of my older brother, because my brother is 6'6" and change. And I'm 6'5", so we had this kind of tall thing going on, and then of course I just thought it's such a natural fit, and I think if you go back and you take a look at you look at the TSR sources for barrow mounds, there were very rarely were barrow mounds anywhere in the old TSR stuff. Yes, you can point to outliers, but it wasn't kind of a common thing. And then of course the Cyclopsmen with the Kroll movie in the early 80s. But I think sometimes it's interesting to go back and look at the primary sources for the things that they could have done but didn't, and they fit the motif, they fit the time period, they fit the style of play. But sometimes it just didn't fall into place for whatever reason. And I think sometimes when you go back and you look at those primary sources with a different set of glasses, you can see some of those things, and it's such rich terrain for creativity and inspiration.
Oh yeah.
No, so we've got ghouls, race, a mimic, and gargoyles. Very nice.
Yeah, it's kind of got an undead theme here.
Yeah,
really kind of graveyardy.
I feel like this is in the Duchy of Eric right now, just based off of what you rolled.
No.
He says, I want to visit Phantasm in Peterborough, but it runs the exact same weekend as Claricon. Oh, that's too bad.
So both of those are located in Ontario, Canada. I've been to Phantasm several times in Peterborough. I've not been to Claricon, but it's closer to me, actually. It just tends to run the same weekend as one of the other conventions in the US that I really enjoy going to.
Yeah. That's too bad, because sometimes we can cannibalize a little bit if we're not too careful. It was convenient for me to be doing live streams on Sunday night, but then I realized, hey, that's a night that a lot of the other guys in the space that do this stuff do their live streams. And so I'm like, do I really want to compete with them all? So I kind of shied away from that a little bit, even though the numbers we were getting wasn't too bad, but yeah, I don't know. I just kind of thought about like, I don't know if I want to, compete on that night.
Well, you get a lot of views after the live feed.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That is true. Yeah.
Because people tend to watch when it's convenient for them, not necessarily when it's live per se.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So I could just still continue, like if Sunday afternoon is like convenient.
Yeah, if it's convenient.
Maybe get a handful of people, and then it'll still be there.
Well, it's like what Spider Pig said, that it's like, oh, well, I got to go to bed, but I'll watch it in the morning.
Yeah, there you go.
Bed by 10.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't even know where he's at. I mean, for all I know, he could be, somewhere where, across the pond. So
yeah, that's right. I was wondering that because he's going to bed pretty early. Either that or he's doing shift work. Well, it seems
We've got an inordinate number of gems, considering it's only 15% of the number.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that could potentially play into theme, or maybe the nature of the quest. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Goblet. Oh, there we go. Makes me think of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That came out when I was a kid.
11. Choose wisely.
Coins.
One.
Amphora. There we go. And I think the amphora corresponds well with kind of the graveyardy feel as well. We've got a couple of amphoras.
It does.
All right. So the next thing we want to do, so just for anyone who's maybe not too familiar with this, we're doing this in its proper sequence. We rolled up the number of rooms, then we went and selected like, is the dungeon dry or wet? How wet? And then we picked the types of doors for each room. So we're kind of going room by room. What's in the room, right? What's the status of the door? What's in there? What type of monsters? Now we're doing treasure, and treasure gets a little involved here. So if we go down here, so the first thing is we determine our treasure type. Then we need to go and determine the value in gold pieces, so that we're kind of, putting it in terms that we can.
So the empty with trap would just be empty as opposed to having a treasure.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry.
Really
My mistake. Yeah, that is correct. Sorry.
And then at the bottom in number 9 as well.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I was just going
quick.
No worries. Okay, let's see.
It's your dungeon, man. If you want to put them there,
that's true. 100%.
If you want the risk reward to be there, that's fine.
Well, we got some pretty good treasures. 2 for 6 of 9. That's pretty good.
Right on. Okay. All right. So now what we want to do, so we're looking in levels 4 through 6.
Yeah.
So we're going to be rolling a D12, and we're going to go room by room. So if I go here, I'll go to D12. 12. All right, that's pretty good.
Let me throw out a caveat here. You have you looked at each one of those monsters to see if they have a treasure type too?
I haven't. So we got ghouls.
Well, this is assuming a relatively new DM.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I was just wanted to just toss that out there that
check the monster entry.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the gem type while we're on it?
Yeah. Okay.
So just to the right there, 1d12 for gem type.
Right here.
And then you add that, whatever the stated value is, to the roll for the treasure.
9.
Ooh.
Aquamarine. Oh, okay.
No, it'd be Pearl. 500. So total 1,500. It was a 9, right?
Yeah.
Pearl.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh gosh, sorry guys.
No worries.
Can't
Just trying to help out.
Plus 500. Okay, so then we'll just go 1500 like this.
Yeah.
Right on.
Good. Ooh, ancient scroll or manuscript. So D12 for the treasure value.
Okay, right here.
Yeah,
Is this
that's it.
going to be? This is going to be for the ancient scroll.
Yeah.
Okay.
5.
Now I have a question for both of you. Do you all have ADHD where you want things to be even?
No, I specifically don't want them even.
Okay, I don't either. But I do have that problem, and I love to pass that on to when things are not even. So I was going to say, I know how you have the 1500. I was just going to say one of the things I do is that I would roll 2d10. Just to determine, just to randomly determine those last two numbers. So it's not exactly 15, 700, whatever.
Yes.
Oh.
I see it the same way. So if I have a number like 1500, anything between 1500 and 1600 is absolutely acceptable. And, a lot of the dungeon design is about the appearance of verisimilitude. So you want the quality of appearing truthful. Right. And thus we maintain the immersiveness and the illusion of the game. So then, that's part of it. And I do pay attention to that in my stuff. And I also will, I'll dig down. So I have like my own tables within Excel. So I just have to hit there and what is it? Hit F9. So that's all been determined, and it all works out, and it's all by what is it, semi-precious, precious, and so on. And then there's a layer of quality. So is it broken? Is it fine, or anything in between? And that adds a layer onto it, and it's pretty involved. And I have folks in the community to thank me because I'm not an Excel man, and the formulas continue to baffle. So I'm always appreciative of the help folks can give me with their expertise in accounting.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, I was just going to say that it's a Greg talk, not a TED talk.
It's a Travis talk.
It's got the alliteration. TT.
Okay, so we need to do the scroll or manuscript type, right? So if we scroll down in the PDF, we're gonna come. Yes, there we go. So this will be exciting. 1d10,
okay.
And then we'll see what we come up with.
Nice.
3.
Ooh,
Holy
okay.
Writs. Ooh.
Holy Writs. Very good. So we're gonna add 150 to the value, or 153 to make Travis happy.
That won't make me happy, but
Okay.
I know that I will pass that disease on to somebody else, and they'll be like, "My God, this doesn't split even."
There you go. Look at that. Beautiful. And then now at this stage, so if you've never done this before and you're like, well, Holy Writs, that's pretty exciting. So what you can do in this example is you could come up with like your own little thing. Maybe there's like this fragment of this long forgotten god, and this is like an entry point into the worship of that ancient deity. Or if you have a player that's playing a cleric or a monk or a druid or something like that, maybe there's something in there in relation to their deity, or something you can tie into the player characters. So it's at this stage that you can add in your own little bits of detail as to what those holy writs might be.
Yeah. Or since there's a lot of undead, maybe potentially something that can help you with the the monster situation.
A great idea. So anytime you get examples like this where you can tie it back into perhaps a monster, or perhaps there's you can tame a monster by using the holy writs long enough to get access to something in one of their rooms. Like it's all what you see and what you think would be interesting to play. And, one of the things that's really important to think of is when you're creating an adventure like this, oftentimes we're thinking selfishly about us as the person running the game. Try to get out of that if you can. So if you're going to write, a piece of writing is never about you, the author. It's about the reader. Make the reader happy and know your audience. And so, in this example, know your players. And, do they like, maybe they like a little bit more combat. Maybe they like a little bit more, puzzle type, or maybe, there or something in between. So you can fit that to your dynamic of your players.
Yeah. Now, puzzles sound challenging to me, as far as like designing them in the game. Do you guys find those to be tricky?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, because how many puzzles have been done? There's so many people have done many different puzzles, and the thing is that sometimes to find a good one that fits the theme or whatever you're trying to do, or if you've got one that just comes to mind, that would be great. But a lot of times I go searching and digging to try to find something, or if something just comes to mind, but in the process of doing that, I hope that, I'll get inspired. But I will say that just off of the talk about the Holy Writs and the fact that you have wraiths in there and bringing in that, and this could be a forgotten temple to Solus, and those Holy Writs might be helpful against the wraiths. So just giving you an idea.
Yeah, totally. So this is a 600 gold piece amphora, but since it is an amphora, we roll again on here, right? To see.
Yep.
All right, so we'll go ahead and do that with a D6.
4.
And that's ornate. Okay.
All right, so there's some sort of ornate art, or perhaps in the style of the amphora, that would be unique. There's another opportunity where you could say, okay, well, I'm gathering all these details. I'm working column by column, and perhaps, I'm starting to see, maybe I can tie this back into some of the undead, or perhaps the mimic, or perhaps the gargoyles. We'll just wait and see how it plays out.
Or you could also have you help tell a story.
Right.
It doesn't have to be much, but just within a few words or whatever, kind of give something, and then the players would be like, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that, and even if you've not come up with it, that might just play out for you in the long run. That's what I intended all along.
Right. There's many ways as a DM that you can convey information. It can be as simple as you can use the tack hammer or the sledgehammer. People tend to use the sledgehammer. Sometimes the tack hammer is the best way to go for mature players. So perhaps there's something depicted on the outside of the amphora that could circle back around to something else in the dungeon that's important or relevant. And also, just speaking to Travis's point about puzzles and things of that nature, there are books written on ciphers and things of that nature. And what's important when you're thinking about those is there has to be a logic to it. And by having a logic to it, if the players can break the code, then they'll have the logic to decipher. So that's how you have to think about it very logically, methodically, and rationally. And then once you've done that, and so you have to be fair to your players, there has to be a logic to it. But then, because we're DMs and we're creative types, we can put a little twist maybe at the end there that might involve them taking a little bit of a leap of faith in maybe the last bit of the cipher or something along that line. And that's where the fun can ensue.
Yeah, the Zodiac Killer would have been good with this with that option.
Now we're getting into Mad Scribe territory. The last few interviews with Chris has just been wow. That man has lived the most interesting life. I mean, he needs to be the most interesting man for
Oh yeah.
Cosmic King. He really does. Because and if nobody has watched those videos for Lord Mattias and Tennessee Tabletop, go watch them. Chris,
So do we need to do the detail on the goblet and the coins? Is that right?
Okay. Yes, we got goblet and coins.
That might be on the.
So
Oh no,
goblet-
there it is.
There we go. Okay, so here's our goblet table right here. A 8. So let's go ahead and
3.
wrought silver. Okay.
Very good. And 300 and change.
Ryan,
Yes.
I was just going to mention that you need to put ornate by your amphora too as well, just to remind yourself.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's the thing, the devil's in the detail, and some people will, they'll kind of read in the macro, right? And other people will start in the macro and they'll work right down to the micro, and you want to make sure that you're hitting all the readers, the person who's reading perhaps a little bit more casually or quickly, and then the person who's reading in a very fine, detail-oriented way. And at the end of the day, that's the hardest group to appeal to. So if you're appealing to that group and you're creating a very detail-oriented thing, then we get back to that idea of verisimilitude, the appearance of truth. And then it's like, wow, this looks it's so detailed and it's so cool. And then that can be exciting. And if you get the DM excited and then they sit down with their players and they're excited, then they convey that to the players, and then the players are excited. And before you know it, you have a great game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Me and so we've got a live, well, not a live play, but we've got a recorded play session coming out pretty soon with me and the kids. We just picked NPCs from a tavern. It's gonna be funny. So if everyone wants to, join in at some point and watch that, I think you might enjoy it if you like kids laughing and stuff. Zodiac, you want your players to be able to figure out this.
Sometimes they can't even figure out, like something that's like very, very simple. But
and that's it's like Greg was saying, like you want to be fair to the players, so you don't want to do something that's going to be like infuriatingly complex, because then I think that would defeat the entire purpose, so it has to be achievable, within the context of your session or whatever it is that they need to solve it by.
And if you have like we're doing a 9-room dungeon, but if you have levels and things, there's nothing to say that just because the players encounter a puzzle on one level, that the answer to it is on the same level. I mean, you can MacGyver that stuff, and you can drop some stuff later on, and then they're like, oh, that relates back to that, and then they go back there, and so then you can have some interesting stuff happening at that time. We can play a patient game and allow it to unfold, and then, but I like at the end of the day to reward the conscientious player. The detail-oriented player, especially the mapper. Mapping is a bit of a lost art form, and I've played some great games with some great mappers, and they're very fine, detail-oriented folk. And then in between sessions, they study the map, and then they come back to the game session. They're like, okay, I've been studying the map. See this little area over here? There could be something that seems like a great area where you might hide something. Let's go there and check for secret doors. And that's the kind of awesome play that you get in the old school experience to me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think the only. Go ahead, Travis.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the only one in my party with my kids that would be inclined that way is my daughter, because she's the only one that will actually map. Abigail, the older daughter. So she maps, because as soon as I kind of relate it to them that like, hey, I'm not going to tell you which way's out. You should be mapping this. You're in the dungeon, Then I did provide them with graph paper and stuff, and so she's diligent about that.
Well, that's great, because there are people that have that, and then there are people that don't. And you want to make sure, if you're playing in a game with good players, that you want to make sure you give the mapping to the person that passed, junior geography or whatever. You want to make sure that they have a sense of direction and proprioception, so they know where things are relative to space, because some people have it and some people don't.
Yeah. We got a question here from Frank. He says, how many levels make for a good size for dungeon? What's your guys' thought?
Travis, why don't you go ahead?
3.
For a good sized dungeon, I would base it more on rooms than by levels. I would say that, like, a standard or small dungeon you're looking at is somewhere between just kind of like how this generator would work, 1 through 12. And then anything above that, I would consider like a medium, or like would you consider like a standard size dungeon up to, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 rooms. The best example I've ever seen is Alexander Macris actually breaks this down. Like, but I mean, you're talking about levels, and I mean, like, just take like Barrowmaze. It's like, yeah, you could say that the surface level is like the first level of the dungeon, and that the mega dungeon below is the second level, but technically that dungeon is just one long dungeon. So and it's on and it maybe it elevates up and down, but it, for the most part, it's on one level, like across, or as I think you coined it, Greg, as a dungeon sprawl or scrawl.
Yeah, I would say the British have this great saying called "fit to purpose," and I think when you're thinking about dungeon design, you want to fit to purpose. So if you if you have a theme in mind that can suggest, do you want, if we're working, it depends how many rooms. So, how many rooms do you want per level? How many levels of experience do you want this to encapsulate for the player characters? And, 3 is kind of the number of perfection, and, introduction, body, conclusion, past, present, future. I mean, we through the number
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. So it's a number that comes very directly from Christianity and informs a lot of our understanding about how we communicate things and how we phrase things. And so, that's a starting point. I would just say, have an idea for how many levels of experience you want to encapsulate for the players, and that'll suggest perhaps how many levels or rooms per level. You could do, in my Mega Dungeons, I've tried to expand the notion of the traditional layered Mega Dungeon, corresponding to player level and monster hit dice, and I think they're which is terrific, but I think there are other ways we can do the same thing, and so if you have newer players, maybe you want a little more of a traditional approach. And then if you're playing with more veteran or experienced players, perhaps you might want to shuffle the deck a wee bit so they're not going to game you, because it's always like, just like in warfare, it's measure, countermeasure, measure, countermeasure, and there's that dialogue back and forth, and you're engaged in that as a DM with your players, because it all comes from historical wargaming. So if they start gaming you, then you game them back, and that makes it for an interesting dynamic gaming space.
One thing I'm starting to notice here is there's a lot of insanity. Well, there's insanity curses, 2 of them, and then there's some paralytic gas. So I feel like something like that could play into the theme of the dungeon as well, right? Just kind of like, was it the Princess Bride that had the Cliffs of Insanity, or is that what it was called? Yeah, where they climbed up.
The Cliffs of Moher. Yeah, in Ireland.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that you could maybe draw inspiration from a little bit, So we got,
between our monsters, our treasures, the trap types, it seems like we're leaning, to perhaps a crypt or perhaps, something evil, deity inspired, something, along that line. We just see how it plays out. What are you thinking, Travis?
Yeah, that's I agree because of the fact you have the undead and you have the holy writ there, whether it could be holy or unholy. And then there's always a bias somewhere, right? So and then of course with like the gases, but the insanity, those curses and everything, that's bad juju. So yeah.
For sure.
I was going to say, and I'll help answer this question and everything there in a second, Frank. I saw where Howard, who's one of my players, and also the designer of the Night Marshal for the Full Metal Tilt system that I have, he mentioned that when we were joking about like making a puzzle that wasn't too hard, but I guess it ended up being a little hard. Where he said there, yes, a gym door comes to mind, Travis, and it says laugh out loud. I had been running the Whispers of the Second Deep, and I think we're up to session 8 of like them delving back down in there. At one point in time, there is a gem that has to go to this door, and for them to unlock this crypt section, and that gem is actually in the possession of a dwarven white, and they encountered the white before they even knew the gem door even existed. And as soon as they got the gem and everything that he was holding, they're like, all right, cool, we're going to hawk this off. And so they sold it. And then they get to the gem door and everything. And then they're sitting there and they're asking questions and everything and being particular about it. And they're like, okay, we can't do this. We keep getting hit by this, this magic hammer, that's on the door, this, the spell that's guarding it, this ward. And they're like, wait a minute, what's the size of that gem? And they start figuring it out, and then there's all these memes afterwards for the next session of like when we just realized that we sold that gem in town and now we have to go back and buy it.
You gotta hope the
about
guy
where you're saying
still
like
has
something
it,
would
right?
be in this level and it could be used down here. Well, in this case, it was something that was going to be used on the level, and they just went ahead and they hawked it off.
Sold it.
They're like, all we saw was the money and the XP. And I was like, yes. And then they're like, daggone it.
That's kind of sneaky, Travis, because like I probably wouldn't have thought of like using a treasure item, some elsewhere in the dungeon.
Well,
that'll teach them a lesson.
The door. It's a gem door, and it has different gems in it. It's like a peridot. Like to open it, you actually had to touch the gems based off of the first letter of each gem. So to open, O-P-E-N. So it was an opal, a peridot, an emerald, the emerald, which is what was missing, and I forget what the other one was. Whatever. It started with an N. So, but then they also like learned like, wait a minute, if this opens, can I close it? Once they figured it out, and they were like, yep, CLO, because all those things were there. I put make sure that they were exactly there to work it out. But yeah, that was one of those things where I thought they would figure it out, but then they sold it, and I was just sitting there, and like I said, and that happened 4 sessions before that they found out about the door. So I was holding on to that. So never tell them. Just let it ride.
Yeah. Just wait. Yeah. Wait for them to. Yeah.
All right. So are we going to do the map?
Yeah.
Let's do the map. Now, just for anyone who's doing catch here. So I'm, for convenience of like showing this, I'm doing this in Excel. I find it easy to do it that way and to show it. But Greg is going to want you to use this dungeon generator worksheet when you submit. Okay.
It's encouraged. How's that?
Yeah, we'll put it that way. Yeah. Now, okay, yeah. So we'll do the map. So if we go back up to the top.
Oh, while you're doing that, I was going to answer a quick question. I told Frank I would. That he said, "What's the best old school dungeons out there?" That would be Barrowmaze and Dwarrowdeep.
Right. Yeah, that's what Off Grid Gamer said.
Well, it's kind of,
I didn't even see that. Didn't even see that. So
yeah, really.
I enjoy the other.
Spiders.
Now, trust me, I enjoy the other two of Greg's, but Barrowmaze, growing up near, Adena mounds and everything, that intrigued me. And then, of course, Dwarrowdeep. My buddies, they love dwarves, so that was one of those things. They were like, and I remember when I pitched it and showed it to them, they said, one of my friends, Aaron, said, "I want to play this before I die." So I want to play this. So I was like, all right, we're throwing it in here. So,
that's fun. Yeah. I just think when all the barrow mounds, like Travis said, you're going to Ireland, and I was there a couple years ago, Scotland last summer, and visiting all the Neolithic monuments and things like that. And it's just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating to stand in front of all these things and see and experience them firsthand. And sometimes the weather allows over there, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's very exciting to think about fantasy gaming, and then to think about the experiences that we can have visiting some of these places, and then trying to bring that to the writing. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to do, is to think about how when I experience these things, and I'm standing there and I'm taking it all in, and then you're trying to think of what it would be like to be in these very claustrophobic spaces. And being a tall person, sometimes I'm like really, sometimes I've been on my stomach crawling through some of these entry passages, and but they don't plumb themselves, so you better get in there and do it while you can. and that part of it's fun, and also to see, to think about how these could be used in fantasy gaming is just it's super fun, it's super creative, it inspires me, and then you try to bring that to the writing the best you can.
Okay, I keep rolling a 6, you guys. So this is a very patternized dungeon.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
I'm just going to toss something out there. Now, I know that you're using the one that's directly out of Dragonslayer, but there is one. Of course, it's geared towards barrow mounds, but there is some variations of the rooms that are in it. And I don't know if you own the PDF for Barrowmaze.
Barrowmaze?
Yep. So I was just going to say, I know you rolled 6 like twice. So if you wanted to, like,
it's all good. I mean, we've got some similar results already with the undead and the traps and things. So I think that's going to actually work out.
Yeah.
I'm just tossing that out there because there is a lot of those rooms that are the same, between Barrowmaze and Dragonslayer, but there is some variations there. So just saying, like, sometimes, even though you've got, like, if you've got more than one place to pull from, like, say, if you're doing the random results, that does help out. And I do use both of these. I will bounce between both of them depending on how I'm feeling.
People love that crypt generator, and it was just kind of like one of those things where I thought, well,
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, let's do that, and but people make YouTube videos on it, just dicing that stuff up, which is fun.
Oh yeah, it's a huge value add, in my opinion.
What is it, Loki's Lair, that I think you actually, like, posted his video, and that one, ever since I heard it, like, anytime, like, my wife's like, oh, let's do Taco Bell tonight or something, and I'll be like, okay, and I know how, like, far I put in the order, and I go there, I throw that one every time on just to hear him say, like, about it. And sometimes I'll get something new out of it every time I listen to it. And I don't know, I've listened to it, like, maybe 12, maybe 13 times at this point in time, like, just taking that drive back and forth of just, sometimes it just inspires me about, like, just the basic thought of, like, okay, well, maybe I could try something a little different, not necessarily, on a grander scale.
Yeah, that's the cool thing is that, two people can look at something and come up with completely different interpretations, or maybe pull detail that maybe we glossed over or we took a mental holiday, and then all of a sudden you listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I can totally do that. And that's the great part about the collaboration and the sharing and in the creation of things like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think it would pay probably for people making submissions to maybe bounce ideas off of people in your household or something like that, or people like friends or people at work or whatever that you have. Because I think that just getting, I think they could be a fertile source of ideas probably, and like they might be able to kind of help you vet out good and bad ideas and things like that. A little bit of feedback before you actually get in there.
Or to play test it. Like, even if you have like just the bare bones, like play test it.
Yeah.
They will find the kinks in it.
Yeah. I always, if anybody's unaware, I teach a course on the history and culture of role-playing games, and I make the students go through character generation, one-page dungeon generation, and then they actually, as a tutorial, they take part and they play part of each other's adventures. And I always encourage them to run their housemates through a game before they actually do it in the classroom. It's very helpful because sometimes you can talk, just like if you're writing something, you can talk yourself into things on the screen, and then but when they actually, when the rubber hits the road and you're somebody else reads it, it may not make as much sense as you thought it did. So it's always good to get some feedback. And the really important thing is, if you trust the source of your feedback, right? So you have somebody that really enjoys gaming and they're a critical consumer of gaming material. Those opinions are terrific. And then if you're getting someone that's perhaps a little newer, maybe they're not as nuanced in their thinking and stuff, but then you can take that for what it is. But all feedback can be useful. And that's another thing. Sometimes when we create something and we get some feedback that's maybe not as positive as we'd like, the first blush response is to perhaps be a little bit defensive, but try to overcome that and just try to say like, okay, well, is this criticism valid? Is it how can I think about it in other ways, and then communicate that perhaps in a more clear or concise way? So try to think of it in those terms, and it's always about making the work the best you can, and communicating in a way that allows tired, overworked DMs to facilitate their game nights as quickly as possible.
Well, especially if you're planning on taking your work to market, right? Because the people that are going to be scrutinizing it in the marketplace are going to be the most ravenous critics that you'll ever see, right? So get that feedback from honest, friendly sources first, and then that's really going to help out your finished product.
It will, especially when you're dealing with an OSR kind of community. People have they're very well read. They read fantasy fiction, and they watch films, and they have an understanding of what's whatever film, streaming show, whatever is coming forward. They know the stuff that preceded it, and the same thing goes with gaming material. And what that means is that's a pretty challenging task to write for that group, but it's also very rewarding because we've read everything, we've seen everything, but we also love the version of the game that we enjoy most, and we're interested to be challenged and to be presented with a situation or a dungeon or an adventure that with things that we haven't seen before, still within the parameters of TSR D&D. So and there's so much room for creativity that you can just bring all the resources to bear and try to make it as awesome as you can, and get a little bit of feedback, and then submit to the contest for sure.
Sorry guys, I've got this stink bug that's like been buzzing around me, and I was trying to get it over here, and then it's like they always want to come around you. And I was talking about those bugs.
I got an idea for you. Don't you have giant flies on your thing?
Giant flies?
Yeah, wasn't there giant flies?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
There's your stink bug.
I think we need to insert an insect swarm of stink bugs somewhere in here.
Yeah, well, maybe so. Yeah,
it's serendipitous.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Sometimes things
maybe.
hit you because you're not even expecting it. It's like my wife will say something or I'll bounce something off of her and she'll just bring up. Or she'll just be saying something randomly, and I'll stop, and I'm like, I'm writing this down. I'll pause the show or whatever we're watching. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I have to put this on the notes. I just bear with me."
I know. I've had that same thing happen. Travis, a friend of mine, went to say butterflies, and it came out blutterflies, and I'm like, yoink, that's totally a new monster. And but that's the other part too. Like, the process of creation, you need to have, the organic part that's actually outside the equation. And, I don't know about anybody else, but, being the D&D geek that I am, I have like a notepad on my phone, and it just like, if I come up with any kind of, I come up with any sort of idea, bang, in it goes. And then when I'm ever, well, what do I do with this, or how do I deal with that? I go to that list, and I've got potential names for NPCs or pre-generated characters. I've got interesting things that perk my interest. Oh yeah, go look up that because there was some interesting point of detail. And then before you know it, you're not staring at that blinking cursor anymore. It's just flowing. And because we have this great example with the Excel spreadsheet, we've got a great starter to expand and to create something fun.
Just talking about that, like writing stuff down and everything, that sometimes I've went back just to look at some things, and some things it might be like a pulp culture reference that I know I can like squeeze into something. So I have to put it down because I'm like, oh, this will be good because this would be a great nod because this guy's a halfling, or this guy, so forth and so on, and just sometimes you just take notes like that and then go back and like, oh yeah, maybe I forgot about this. I should use this now. This is the opportune time.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah, that's exactly how you do it. And the other part, once I get to the part where, okay, I've got like some, just quick things I've jotted down on a notepad or whatever, I also have notebooks. So I try to do stuff off screens whenever I can. And the notebooks kind of look like in-world books you might pull off a wizard's shelf. And that's pretty cool. Like, you've got it on the table and it's like calling you because it just looks really cool. And then before you even pick it up, and now you're writing notes in it. And then I'll take like, early examples for towns or for regions, and I'll print that off, and then I'll stick it in the book. And then I can, now I don't have to go back and forth between multiple books. It's all kind of self-contained. And then, so, whatever you need to do to keep your project going, whatever sort of kind of mind game you have to play with yourself to keep those creative juices flowing, definitely, do that. And sometimes, you can just close your eyes and see it. And that's that visual image in your mind that the text is just taking that image and putting it on the page. And other times, we see an image and then, oh, wow, okay, I could do this, I could do that. And, being a visual learner like most men are, that can be, a picture can be worth 120,000 words, depending on, the depth and the thought that you want to put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use like composition books like that. Yep.
Yeah, picture's worth, 1,000 words. That's, I think that's where art really kind of brings a benefit to RPGs as far as like tone and stuff like that. And getting people's into it and the interest, because like it's like having that wizard book on your table, right, Greg? Because it's like it's evocative. It kind of gets you into this, whole other world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, all the glory to the great, terrific, illustrators and artists out there. People like Ken and James, who's done a ton of art in Dragonslayer, and Jeff Easley, and I can draw you a great stick figure, as Ken and James will tell you. But because the funny part is sometimes I'll have like an illustrative box, and I'll have like a stick figure, and there'll be like a sword going out this way or whatever, and I'll send it to him. And he's like, yeah, just use that. I mean, I don't really need to illustrate anything. And so, these really talented buggers, they can do these, they can visualize these things, and they can take a description and make it happen. And God bless the artist, because I can draw you a good stick figure, and that's all I got.
Well, I have to say that with my works that I've got, cranking out here, that Ryan has done a great job. So Ryan, you pat yourself on the back, because sometimes it's like I'll give you a description and then and I'll give you like some notes and stuff, and then you'll come back with a little different, but almost right where I want it to be, and I'm like, I never even pictured that way. Actually, I like this better than what I was about. Or there'll be times where I'm like, no, let's talk about this. But for the most part, it's like you hit it spot on. Like, we're getting to that point where like I'll give you something and you're like, that's it. And I'm like, okay, great. It's like
it's tons of fun. I love working for you, Travis. It's tons
That's
of
the
fun.
thing too.
I like working with you, man. It's been a great experience.
Yeah.
It's that's another part of it. If you're creating something and you're thinking about, okay, well, I'd like to revise this into an adventure and put it on drive-through or someplace else, you need to be open to, the creative process is a collaborative one. And when you're talking to an artist and you give them a brief, I do try to say, I'm open to artistic interpretation. And the better an artist and the more closely you work together, the more you'll be aligned in how you want things to look. But I'm always interested when an artist comes back to me and says, I would really like to, this is how I see it. And then just like Travis said, you're like, yeah, that actually is better than the description I gave you, and just be open to that and see where it takes you.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so we're at this point with the dungeon, guys. We've got our different shapes. And now with the 9 rooms, does that include the entryway?
I wouldn't include the entryway, but we can totally work with what you have here if you prefer.
I'll just throw another one in. Give me a sec. Let's see. D8. It's that one. I think I might have already. No, I don't have that one yet. Okay, let me take a snip. And quick question for you, Greg. Do you use this generator to create your own mega dungeons, or is this? Do you do more advanced technique?
Well, for this example, this is the we're on the Barrowmound crypt generator in Barrowmaze. So in this example,
this is the Dragonslayer one. The Barrowmaze one's underneath it.
Oh, okay. My bad. You're right. Yeah. This is the Dragonslayer one. So it's a variant. So what I did was with the Barrowmound crypt generator, and also if you take a look at the Barrowmaze map, and then you go back to Gygax's example in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, you'll see.
I brought it. it.
So if you flip, flip nice. To Travis, flip to the sample map that Gygax did, and then if you take a look at that map, and then you take a look at Barrowmaze, you're going to see all kinds of similarities. and that's because I wanted a tip of the cap, obviously, to Gygax's inspiration for the game, but also there were little interesting narrow crypt passages and things like that you see referenced. Yeah, if you go to the map example that he's got.
Do you want me to present you, Travis? Let me see.
Well, you know what? I can. Let me do this. I'll do you one better. You guys keep talking. I have a PDF here, and I will find it, and then I will share it.
Present. Okay.
Sure. So what I did was, when I was thinking about the Barrowmaze map, is that okay? I want crypts, and I was reviewing the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I was looking at the aesthetics of the sample map, and I thought, ooh, there's all kinds of like really interesting little narrow crypts and things that weren't necessarily numbered. They weren't numbered locations per se, but they were interesting. And I hadn't noticed those in a lot of other TSR maps. And that's just, we spoke earlier in the episode tonight about looking back at the primary sources with a different set of glasses and what's already embedded there that wasn't necessarily carried forward. And one of the ways when you do that, you can have your material set within that time period, within that zeitgeist, within those sources of inspiration. And then when you pull it forward to the OSR time period we've had here for 20 years, it just seamlessly falls in. So, that's kind of like how I try to look at things. And that's very much an academic's mindset. We tend to look at things. We ask the question, what's missing? And then we try to fill holes. So, that's kind of how I look at thinking about TSR D&D, the amazing work and how much I respect all those designers and artists. And then, how can I pull things? How can I be inspired by things and pull them forward to make them look seamless with that time period?
Awesome. Are you good to go, Travis?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember where it's at, because the one I'm thinking of is in the Holmes Basic.
No, this is in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. It has you'll be able to find the page because the map is black.
I found it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can.
Just give me a second.
I think this is like one of the most fun things you can do, because who doesn't like going back and looking at some of those old adventures and things like that, and the artists and the all that stuff, and then looking at it from a different point of view. Here you go.
Nice.
So you see these little narrow passages in the maybe like 5 by 5 feet. So those are kind of like interesting things that you don't see those on a lot of maps. And when I was thinking about when I was creating Barrowmaze, I was thinking, those would be really cool. And I like the idea, having these 10-foot corridors and a lot of things that you see in Neolithic and late Stone Age stuff. It's just not realistic. The 5-foot passages, however, or less than 3-foot passages are a bit more in line. And then you also get to narrow things, which creates a death trap for players. Now you can use the whole toolkit to trap them, or to have ambushes, or to make them go single file and then attack them from the inside of the crypt or from behind. And now they can't swing swords as easily as they could in a larger passage. And, you can also compress the ceiling if you want to really get them.
Uh-oh, yeah. Trash compactor.
You know what I just learned tonight?
What's that?
You know what I just learned tonight?
What's that?
I'm missing that page.
No way.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Somebody sliced it out because I just
found
found
it out and used it. Must have marked it up. Oh man.
Travis,
You know
is
what?
that
Print
your
this off and you can just insert it.
is
That's
that your
something
copy
I
from
bought
back in
that.
the day?
I bought that for $20, and I did learn that today. Because when I saw that map, I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, that looks like the one that I have a copy of. It's in my PDF of the Holmes Basic. So it's just like, because I remember like the little squiggly, up there in the top corner near number 2.
Yeah. Did anybody play this, and did you get like that treasure that's in the pool in number 2? Did you get it before the river takes it out? Because that'd be really cool if you did.
Nope, I've never played this. Never.
All right.
No. Yeah, not me.
No, but I've played the was it the haunted keep? I've played that one like a number of times, like how the Mulvey basic, the tower that's in there. So you guys know which one I'm talking about?
Is it the Salt Marsh one?
No.
No. Okay.
I'll pull it up since I'm driving right here.
Okay.
So, Travis, are we expecting a tower-based?
Oh yeah.
adventure?
Oh yeah, because he was asking about towers. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was asking about towers.
I'll share something off here in a second. It won't give anything away.
All right.
Hold on. No, I'm in the wrong category here. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on. We're almost there. Yeah, the Haunted Keep.
There you go.
This was my introduction as a kid. So 3rd grade.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's also magical when you're that young, you know.
Yeah, that's how I became big fans of elves, because I'm like, oh, it's just me and I'm just solo playing. I was like, I kind of want to have magic and I kind of want to have a sword too. So here we go.
Well, I mean, just like the whole experience, like is magical is the word I use for it, but just like it's so absorbing as a kid that age, and I think that's what keeps us going into our later age, because it's like, just that feeling we had as a kid. We still,
Oh yeah.
Draws
us back.
It was a new paradigm, right? Like you've had card games and board games and chit-based games, but then you've got this new paradigm where you get to take the outside role playing that you might do as kids or on the playground or at home, and then you get to bring it into a game where with monsters and spells and dice and that paradigm
systematized.
Yes, it was, and methodical, and so and it created a new paradigm for play as we know it, and that's what keeps us coming back to it, Ryan.
Did you ever talk with Gary Gygas? Frank's asking.
No, I didn't. I did see Dave Arneson right before he passed.
Oh wow!
But
that is so cool. That is awesome. Did you get a picture with him?
No. I took a picture, but I didn't get a picture with him.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me present. That's super cool. That is super cool. Okay, so this is what we have. So now, give me your advice on what to do next, because I've got these kind of thrown up onto the map. I can rotate these any which way, but what kind of strategy would you use at this point to arrange these? I understand that like you guys might be doing this differently. If you were doing it by hand with pencil and paper, you probably draw out each room as you roll them up, right? And then filled it in with all the monsters and stuff. So this might be a little bit of a different, thought process for you. But what are your thoughts?
I would normally do the map first, and so if you take a look at the worksheet, Probably what I would do is, and what I encourage my undergrads to do, is to put the stairs in the center of the map.
Okay.
Just because they'll have a tendency to want to do very linear dungeons, and by putting the entry point in the center, it forces them to expand in different directions instead of just dropping it in a corner. And now you've basically just got two ways out, where if you have the stairs in the center, you can it opens the space. So then it would just be a matter of you can rotate these to choice. So you can use the graph like we have it here, and then it's just a matter of drawing in your hallways in between the rooms.
It looks like we have a bit of a symmetry here with these 3 right here. So it would make sense to me to try and arrange them in a way that is going to look a little bit symmetrical on the dungeon. But that's just my first thought.
Your OCD is taking over.
Yep. Just like that, and then kind of fill the others in, around them.
And you want to think relative to, you don't want your what you don't want to do in this example, if you're thinking about symmetry, is you don't want to basically just create a circle dungeon, right?
Okay.
And you want your rooms far enough in between where you can have a number of hallways that provide at least the appearance of meaningful choices. So if you exit one room and you can only go in one direction, that just doesn't present a lot of options for players, nor does it present a lot of options for you as a DM. So you want to think about, don't space them so close together that you aren't afforded room to draw in your hallways as you see fit.
Okay.
Do you want to know what I do?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. So going back to using the random generator. So if you use the one that we were just talking about in the
Barrowmaze one?
No, the one in the Dungeon Master's Guide for
in
the AD&D. It also has a random generator in it, and it can random generate passages, and then those passages could lead to rooms and so forth and so on. So instead of you can do it this way, but once you got it this way, you could use the passage generator to kind of figure out, because sometimes you'll get some interesting situations where they won't be just at 90 degrees. They may be at 45 degrees. So on, kind of get you some variations. And then when you have things connecting, you have a choice here is whether do you want them to connect? Do you not want them to connect? You also have in there where it says that there could be a secret passage at the end of this. You have a chance for that. Or, again, like I said, you come to that point where maybe I should put a secret passage here, or you make the choice as, with a little bit of common sense, but you kind of got a feel of what you're playing with. But that's how I design is that, back to where I said, and I've said this a number of times now, I put the music on, which, I've actually been building, some songs and everything out just for, this contest, and just flow, just get into a flow state and just start drawing. And then, that's why you got erasers in case if there's something that's just this just ain't making any sense, especially when you're going to populate everything, or not populate, because, there needs to be empty rooms too.
Yeah. And one of the things I do is when I'm creating to help me get in that flow state, I often I'll often have ambient music playing, but it'll be themed to whatever I'm doing. I don't want lyrics. I find lyrics distracting. So I have a whole playlist for dwarves, for example, very inspiring when I was working on Dwarrowdeep. I've got plenty of ambient kind of like crypt things if I'm thinking more along the lines of Barrowmaze or something undead, and I spend time thinking about those playlists. So it keeps me in that kind of flow state. And oftentimes I've had people, if I'm working on something for several hours, the world kind of falls away and I'm just zeroed, I'm just locked into what I'm doing, and then I'll get a phone call and people like, were you sleeping? You sound sleepy. And it's like, no, I was just so hyper focused on what I'm doing that nothing else matters. I'll look down and it'll be like 4 dog toys set right beside my left thigh, because my dog is coming around going, you're spending too much time on this, and he's left all these little offerings by my leg, and then I know that I need to probably take a break. But whatever helps you get into that state where you're creating, it's not a distracted space and you're really focused, that's whatever that means for you, do that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice.
Yeah, I use ambient and classical at times, but sometimes initially, like when I'm starting out, like I said, I'll put the metal music or the folk metal, because sometimes I get a little bit of inspiration from that music, of just the songs, and just like, I don't know, it's just like the way that makes me feel when I'm like actually like drawing it out. That's what gets me to go. And I agree with like Greg that when I'm actually like populating stuff, then I'm like, I can't have the words now. I can't have that. I'm just like, no, I can't. I need to dial it back now.
So let me ask, Greg, were there bagpipes in the Scottish Dwarrowdeep music, and do your dwarves have Scottish accents?
I'll answer the last one first. Yes, they have Scottish accents. But I don't play bagpipes because I play bagpipes. So what will happen is I will literally be sitting there playing along, and then before I know it, I'm not concentrating on the work anymore. And and that's literally how that goes. I can't help it. I just start. I'll be subconsciously playing the music, and sometimes you play like that, but sometimes it just on the steering wheel or whatever, it just starts to come out, and then before you know it, you're distracted. So that's kind of how I think about it. Now, in terms of the geomorphs we have here, if I was thinking, okay, well, I definitely want to have, we have a limited number of rooms. I definitely want one of those to be a cool secret room. I might lean to perhaps like that little one in the bottom left-hand corner, or maybe the round one or something like that. And so I'd be looking at my descriptions and our random results, and I'd be thinking, okay, well, I haven't quite decided on my theme, but this room might suit for one of those little secret spaces, and you can start thinking about your geomorphs relative to your random results.
Ryan, the 3 that you have that are the same, how many bronze doors do you have? I remember you having at least 3.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
There's 4.
Okay.
Well, you could do the 3 and then a bronze one for the a secret door behind another secret door or something like that.
Yeah, in fact, like, because we don't necessarily need a hallway between everything, unless you wanted to put one. But could have like secret door there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it is now if you guys had full control of the map here, what would you switch around to make it better? I guess we'll see.
Well, I would move those stairs a little bit more centrally in my mind.
Up,
So
up
like
a
it's
bit.
no. As I'm viewing it, I need it more into the center, like what around 20,
Okay.
around 20, maybe
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe a little further over. That's just it's bothering me. So like maybe at the T or the U or the V.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. No. All right. And then
I'd like to see rooms in all directions. So
yeah.
you don't want to be formulaic in how you're thinking about this, and there should be rational a rational thought process relative to hallways and things like that, and yet you leave a little room for the inquisitive player, or you also want to leave a little room in case perhaps one of these hallways is going to be 20 feet across instead of 10, or perhaps you want some angled passages. And what you can do when you're thinking about your rooms is give yourself enough space so that if you want to create in or around in the hallways, hallways don't have to be boring. There can be interesting things going on there too. Don't sleep on that. So just think about how you want that to look, and as I said, as Travis said, keep that eraser handy. You can always rub something out and erase it and move on to something else.
Yeah, and like he was saying about make the hallways interesting, is you can also put alcoves there. Doesn't necessarily have to be one of your rooms there. That could be an A or a B close to that room, with something interesting down there to where your players will be like, kind of like where you're playing Skyrim and you're like, what's that over there? What is that over there? And and then you go and look at it, kind of like when we were playing the beacon on the Barrowmaze, trying to think of his name right offhand, but he kept brother. Oh shoot. I forgot what his character's name was, but anyway, he was just so intrigued about that chalice down that hallway, and he wanted to get it so bad. And I was like, man, he's
Keelan.
Yeah, Keelan. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Wonky. Yeah.
Wonky.
Yeah, he's so much. He's got such great energy and so much fun to play with. So, and the other part too. So, when you're thinking again about your hallways and your room position, there's nothing to say that if you want a little bit of a cave in or some rubble or something like that, that's your creative license. You can bring that to it, or if you want to create like a little alcove, maybe there's a broken statue. Or something like that. Those can add a little bit of texture and a little bit of interest to your hallways, and sometimes you can just it doesn't necessarily have to be a numbered room per se. You can write it a little in the map, in the margin, or something like that, and before you know it, you've you don't have to do a lot, but you have to do enough to break homogeneity and thereby fall into the verisimilitude of the appearance of truth, right?
Another thing I was going to say, like where he was talking about the rubble and everything, it's like even like how he had mentioned about having the secret room. Well, you could even have that room blocked by a little bit of rubble, but enough light that or something that indicates that kind of give them a nod that there is something past that. And using the Barrowmaze rules, you have rules for I need a shovel now and a pickaxe, and then you also with talking about the rubble too, even since we're still talking about this being like a barrow or a tomb or something, or a shrine to an evil god or a good god that but there's evil here, that you could have where something had busted out of the wall, or out of a tomb, and then you can use that rubble that way and just
Right.
have it empty, but it's there, and then somebody's going to be like, what came out of that?
Mhm.
You know, they
Mhm.
start. It's as I call it. Why is there a bucket here with all these scalps in it that, you know, it starts freaking out the players. Like, it has nothing to do with anything. It's just dungeon trash. It's there.
Right. And the thing is, you know, you don't have to explain absolutely everything, and by you leaving a couple of threads of the sweater, you know, dangling, it can be inspiration for a future adventure or monster or whatever it may be. So, you know, you don't feel like, you know, if you're comparing, say, a tabletop role-playing game to a fully 3D immersive video game, everything is rendered for you. Now your imagination has been parked in neutral, and there's nothing quite as spirit crushing as something like that. So, you know, that's why we come back to tabletop, is that it is an undiscovered country, that you can, you know, there are things that you don't know, and you will have to explore if you want to kind of figure them out, or your characters want to figure them out. And that's the stuff of legend. That's where great gaming can really happen. Be open to that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think that, like, the mystery can be the most effective device sometimes. Just leaving the unknown there, because, like, you can't compete with, you know, with that, because, you know, just like the unknown that people, what could it be? That kind of anticipation. I think there was like a sci-fi, you might know about this, you guys, but there was like a sci-fi movie in the 40s, and they used that element of, like, you know, this mysterious alien in the cave or whatever, and like the audience was like so freaked out by this unknown thing, until the end when they brought the alien and it looked all silly and everyone was laughing at it. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about the claw? Are you talking about the claw?
No.
Like where they got that bird? It's one of my dad's favorite, like, sci-fi. It's like this I forget. I think they got this giant bird made in, like, Mexico or whatever, and it's like goofy as all can be.
Yeah.
But they would have is the claw, like attacking stuff and everything, and then when they finally showed, it's like.
It's retarded.
It's ridiculous.
Well,
But if you've never seen that movie, it is worth the watch. Just to have a laugh, just pop some popcorn and watch it. The Claw.
I don't know if that was it or not, but, like, I do remember that it was kind of like a bit of a turning point in cinema, because, like, it was a point where, like, you know, movie makers started to realize, oh, you know, I guess, you know, trying to build out this scary creature, like, fell so hard, so flat, but the anticipation, the buildup was really actually getting people going. So, but anyway.
Well, think of, like, a great example would be like Star Wars. So wasn't the Force way cooler before midichlorians? Like, did we really have to have it quantified as, like, mitochondria? No, we didn't. It was way cooler when it was mystical. And, you know, maintain that's the that's such terrific, you know, has such terrific imaginative properties, and you know, whenever you can, try to maintain that. And you never know when something will circle back around, right? So you put something in, and perhaps you don't fully develop it, or it's only partially developed, and then somebody reads it, and then they like, oh yeah, that's a great adventure idea, or that's something that I'm interested in, and I want to build a little bit of a semi-plot or perhaps adventure goal or whatever out of that. And then, you know, you read people, you know, coming up with these creative ideas and things like that, and posting them in their game sessions or whatever, or after action reports. So, you know, that's a pretty cool part of the process too.
Awesome.
Good night, off the grid gamer.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Sure appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
We got Frank has a question here. He says, question for all of you guys. What is the one thing missing from the TTRPG gaming community?
Well, which community would be my first question.
Right.
If it's the Wizards of the Coast era, I would say creativity, imagination, stick to itness. Whatever things make for good games, they're not doing. So there's that. Travis, what would you say?
I would agree with in that point. It's like who are we talking about? Because with WotC and the way that they're going and stuff and everything, I almost feel like most of their community is like it's almost like we don't want to talk about those people. That's how I feel. It's like that we're just been shunned, and other people get apologies, but we don't get apologies. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't take criticism from people that I wouldn't take advice from, and I would not take advice from them.
Right.
And it's as simple as that. The less they have to do, the more creative our space. And I bought the ticket, I have the T-shirt, I've read the book, and that's where I'm at, because the soul of Rome was in the Colosseum, not in the Senate, and we're the Colosseum.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'd rather still be running with the Collegium than than deal with them. So that's how I feel. So in the people that represent like the OSR and all the different watts of it, they're good people. No matter what kind of game that they like to play, whether it's like a fantasy or whether it's future, whatever. There's just a lot of creativity I see every day on X or on Facebook that somebody is, putting something out there, and it's much better, and even sometimes way better quality than what comes out of Seattle.
I agree with all that stuff. I was thinking about what would I say, and I think what they're missing is, what makes this great. Really, like they're missing what you have in here that just makes the game so fun and endearing, and just this formula that Gary Gygax hit upon, and they're missing the kind of fun that you find in adventures like this. I think and just kind of the group that we're having right now, like gaming with guys that like are cool and normal and like that, and where we don't have to worry about X cards and stuff like that. Just like normal, down to earth, good time. That's really what makes the experience good. And like all the stuff that WotC and the political left pushes for is just a corruption of that good, solid experience that we all look forward to. So
that's very well said.
Well, guys, it's getting a little late. I said like an hour and a half, he says I get it now. Gross. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming. But I thought I found a cool new channel, but I guess not. Well, it depends on your definition of cool. I'm an old guy. I'm a dad. I'm not gay, and I don't like gay stuff, so you won't find that on my channel. So there's that.
Well, the point is, I mean, here's what I would suggest to this person: find something that you consider a really good OSR adventure, and then find whatever Wizards of the Coast best adventure is in the last 5 years. Then go through them page by page, and look at it from the standpoint of creativity. Just do that. Then come back and we can have the discussion. But let's do the work first. And I don't see it in those terms. I think it's a very unfortunate wording. I would say you need to think more broadly, and you have to understand that before gaming spaces were politicized, there were non-political gaming spaces where people could be creative and they could bring their texture and their humanity to the work. And that's really what it's all about, that you can sit down and play with people, and everyone's open to the experience, and no one's bringing their politics first. Rather, you park your identity and you engage in a collaborative, collective experience that is valueless, and you allow the value to come through the play at the table. That's where the value is created. You're not bringing it, it's not a priori, it's coming afterwards. And so, just think, there are different ways of expressing yourself at the table. And just because you've played in the last 5 or 7 years doesn't make it the only way of playing at the table. So give those other experiences a chance. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I think so too. Yeah, because like that type of like emerging the fun from the table. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. You know what I mean? It happens every time I play with my kids, and just like the fun we get up to, and we don't come at it with any kind of agenda. Like, okay, this week we're gonna pretend the bad guy's politician X or whatever. You know what I mean? Like we just get in there and we have fun and we play the game for what it is. Just this fantasy environment. And and then the fun emerges, and then there's jokes and stuff like that, and it's just such a great time. It's such an enriching experience.
What most people miss, no matter where they end up on the political scale, is not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody thinks like you. Mm-hmm. And most people, as Griff Morgan would say, we came here to play elf games. That's all we want to talk about. That's all we want to do. I know that like people want to ask about, how does this fit or what, left, right, middle, center, who cares? We came here to play a game. And the thing is that the way that it's being presented out of Seattle, they have lost their way. They have lost they've lost the whole picture because they've made it too political.
Yeah. And the market reflects that too.
Right. Because the market reflects that, and that's why they're reaching out. They're reaching out to people because they know that the bottom line is not everybody's not happy. Their shareholders are not happy. This is where they're at. Yeah. And that's fine. That's fine because the people like us and people that are coming to realize that there's more than just D&D. Yeah, that's just the name that's out there. That they're having a better time, and there's a lot of blue water out there. You could sit and keep churning in the chum with everybody else and keep fighting over those numbers, but it's just going to grow from here, and a lot of people are just kind of like, I'm done with that. But they'll bring some people back, but it will ebb and flow like it always does, and they'll go right back down to what they were doing before. Yeah, mark my words, they will.
Yeah,
they can't help themselves.
No, they just get rid of people too casually. The other part too is if you espouse a particular politic, whether you're writing fiction, you're creating an RPG, a board game, whatever it is, if you espouse any particular politic, you lock yourself very closely, temporally, into a given time period or year. Mm-hmm. That won't age well. Mm-hmm. Your work will never, ever be classic, because as this time passes, a younger generation comes up and they're like, we've had enough of that. They're going to go in, they're going to take RPGs and they're going to go in a different direction. And then you're going to look like a hack because you drank the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. And your work looks like Kool-Aid that came and went. It's passé. It's not classic. It never will be. Rather, if you put good gaming, creativity, interesting plots, human texture, the humanity of it all, good, bad, and indifferent, now you're speaking to something that's transcendent. it's going to last beyond a decade. It's going to last 2 or 3. And when you do that, now you've appealed to people on a human level. That's timeless. It just is. And nobody can convince me of anything different. So you can use unfortunate language to your heart's content, but you're wrong. And it's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of something that's timeless, I'm going to share something. So it's called the Giant Claw. What a funny name.
Claw.
This is the Giant Claw. I'm showing the picture.
Is that like the sequel to the Claw?
No, it's called the Giant Claw. It's made in 1957. I don't know what the claw. I mean, maybe there's a claw, but this is the bird. This is the bird that they had. They spent all their money on all this stuff and did not spend the money on this thing. And all they kept showing was the claw, like, you know, and that's the thing that they had on the screen.
That looks like me at the end of the academic term.
Frazzled hair.
And one other thing I was going to show you, you had mentioned about what I was working on here. So I'm going to throw a hex crawl into mine.
All right. This is the latest project. Getting a sneak peek.
And there's my outline for my tower.
Very cool.
Wow. Okay.
I'll
awesome.
Stop presenting now.
Awesome. Oops. Oh, sorry about that.
We lost Greg.
I saw. I got kicked out.
Well, that's probably a good time to end. I think I might have to go pick up Josh or something like that anyway. So thank you guys for coming on. I think we hit the mark with this one. And so you guys out there, you know, want to possibly get some free product at this Dungeons Design contest, and you just kind of want to throw your hat in the ring and, you know, do something that's going to be recognized by a group of, you know, good old school gamers. Check out Greg Gillespie's Dragonslayer Facebook group, and you'll find details about the Dungeon Design contest on there. The deadline is April 30th. And you know, there'll be a post about it in there. And anything else, Greg, before we send them off?
No, that was great. And thank you so much for having me and for the conversation and working through the example. And I'm just really excited to see what people come up with. And I just want to strongly encourage, if you've never done anything like this before, just go ahead and kick the can. I'm happy to take a look at it. I provide feedback to everyone, and I'd just be really excited to see what you have. And of course, give the reigning 2-time champion Travis a run for his money.
That's right. Yeah, good luck with that. But yes, yeah, let's all see what we could do. Yeah, we'll give him a run for his money, but we'll see.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for having us.
Thanks, everyone who came to watch, even the guy who doesn't like me. That's thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys, and you know, have a good night.
Hold on. Pain generator. Hit that like button on the way out.
Yeah, that's
that like button on the way out.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Talk to you later.
Later.
All right.